This incredible story took place in Kenya. Kenneth Ole Nashu, an experienced ranger along with his team, was patrolling Amboseli National Park, located near the Tanzanian border. His main responsibility was to monitor the elephant population and protect the herd from poachers. The elephant group included about 40 animals, and everyone was excited to learn that one of the females, named Peru, was pregnant. The team eagerly awaited the arrival of a new member of the elephant family. However, Peru would need to face the challenges of pregnancy, a long and delicate process lasting almost 22 months. Since Amboseli National Park is not a zoo, veterinarians did not have the ability to perform the medical exams they would have liked for Peru. So they observed her from a distance, paying close attention to her behavior and noting any unusual signs. Peru began to isolate herself, even from her firstborn daughter. While this wasn't completely abnormal, what truly worried them were the signs of bleeding. The rangers noticed a significant loss of blood over several days and feared a possible miscarriage. Given Peru's age, this could pose a serious threat to her health. The conservationists continued to monitor her closely. One morning, Kenneth spotted a group of elephants in the distance, clearly agitated, stomping around a large marula tree. Kenneth felt that something was wrong. The sky was cloudy, making visibility difficult, so he drove his jeep toward the commotion to see what was happening. His headlights illuminated the tree trunk, and the elephants turned toward him. Behind him was Peru, breathing heavily. She was lying with one leg over the other, her head tilted to one side, showing signs of confusion and disorientation. Kenneth decided to call for backup to examine Peru more closely and stayed in his vehicle to observe the group. If Peru was injured, the other elephants might react aggressively. By the time the veterinarians arrived, it was already dark. A faint hum of mosquitoes filled the air, and the ground was lit only by the vast sea of stars. Peru was examined under a solitary marula tree. A young veterinarian stroked Peru's thick, rough skin, and his hand was almost crushed by her large body. He felt her heartbeat and noted that her breathing seemed normal. The rest of the elephant group formed a semicircle around them, watching the humans closely as they worked. They trusted the veterinarians as they recognized each of them. However, when the veterinarian began taking blood samples, Peru's leg twitched involuntarily. There was a sudden movement, and the elephant stirred to get a better view. Peru's firstborn daughter positioned herself at the front of the group, not fully understanding what was happening. Everyone had known for hours that something was wrong. The veterinarian took the samples to the truck to check for potential imbalances and nutritional deficiencies. The main goal was to determine if Peru had any illness and how her body was coping with the pregnancy. She was severely dehydrated, and there was a possibility of a clot somewhere in her body. Peru was connected to an IV and given medication. A light was set up to illuminate the area as the veterinarians worked diligently, guided by Kenneth, who was still swatting mosquitoes from his face. Together, the team stabilized Peru, who gradually regained consciousness. The good news was that there were no signs of a deadly disease, but the source of her problem was still unknown, which increasingly worried Kenneth. That night, he decided not to leave Peru alone and slept in his jeep, trying to rest whenever he could. Every time he noticed the elephants moving, he would wake up, start the car, and follow their trail wherever they went. Over the next week, Kenneth continued monitoring Peru, taking turns with his colleagues. Aziz, a young veterinarian still in training, accompanied him whenever necessary. He was nervous and felt a bit out of place, but he was one of the few team members willing to work extra hours. Aziz wanted to make a difference, and that was a big responsibility. The big day was approaching. Peru's birth was about to happen. That night, Kenneth was on duty and ended up falling asleep in the car with Aziz by his side. Aziz had learned the importance of watching the elephants at night, as it was usually when they gave birth. The area was dimly lit by the vehicle's headlights. Using binoculars, Aziz kept a close watch on the elephants and noticed that Peru began to grow restless and stood up. He shook Kenneth's arm and informed the leader that the moment had come. Kenneth rubbed his eyes, yawned, and took the binoculars from Aziz. "Good observation," he told the young colleague. Now both hoped everything would go well. Suddenly, the head and legs of a small elephant appeared. It was an incredible moment. Aziz had never witnessed an elephant birth live before. In less than half an hour, everything was over. But right after, they experienced another surprise. Just as Kenneth was reporting the good news to the base camp by radio, the head of another baby elephant appeared. He was stunned and shouted in shock. Peru had given birth to twins. Now everything made sense, especially regarding Peru's health issues, as a twin pregnancy is extremely risky for elephants. Kenneth explained to Aziz that in all the years he had worked in the area, he had never seen an elephant give birth to twins. The last time that happened in Amboseli National Park was almost 40 years ago. Being a deeply religious man, Kenneth looked up to the sky, feeling he had just witnessed a miracle. But soon, the situation became complicated. Looking through the binoculars, Aziz noticed something strange and asked Kenneth if it was normal for the baby elephant to be bleeding. When he focused better, Kenneth realized Aziz was right. One of the cows had a considerable amount of blood on its back. It must have been injured during or shortly after birth, which was not a good sign. In the following hours, the situation became critical. Kenneth had to call the veterinary team, waking some members at their homes in the early hours. Fortunately, everyone responded to the call promptly, determined to do whatever they could to help the injured calf recover. Peru Cooperative allowed the veterinarians to examine her newborns, seeming to trust that they meant well. None of the veterinarians could pinpoint the exact cause of the injury. All they could do was clean the area, prevent infections, and monitor it closely. Fortunately, the team managed to help, and the little elephant made full recovery. Everyone felt relieved and happy, as it was an important step in elephant conservation. What did you think of this story? Leave a like and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.